The final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for Black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing, racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
The blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live from LA in afternoon drive time. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. You all know where to find me, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. But if you're looking for me on the socials, just go ahead and follow me at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Download the KBLA app to always stay in touch, whether you're streaming us live or checking us out on demand. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA, the only Black-owned and operated talk station west of the Mississippi. Like I said, I'm in touch, and so you be in touch, but you can also be in touch at the Left Coast Forum. It's going down at LA Trade Tech on October 25th. Be there or be square. Some pretty exciting keynotes from folks like Dr. Cornel West and Richard Wolff. You'll also hear from a host of different leaders on the front lines. Organizers are going to be there. Folks who are doing the heavy lifting to try and chart a different course in our community, to try and chart a different course in our country. And so if you've been feeling disenchanted, disillusioned, come to the Left Coast Forum. Just come on over, go ahead and log on to KBLA1580.com, visit KBLA1580.com and register for free, and come on over and let's roll up our sleeves together. All right. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, a new Oklahoma schools superintendent rescinds the the mandate for Bible instruction in school. The Associated Press is reporting that Oklahoma's new public school superintendent announced today that he is rescinding a mandate from his predecessor that forced schools to place Bibles in classrooms and incorporate the book in the lesson plans for students. Superintendent Lindell Field said in a statement that he has, quotes, no plans to distribute Bibles or a biblical character education curriculum in classrooms. The directive last year from the former superintendent, Ryan Walters, drew immediate condemnation from civil rights groups, and it prompted a lawsuit from a group of parents, teachers, and religious leaders that is pending before the Oklahoma Supreme Court. It was to have applied to students in grades 5 through 12. The Oklahoma governor, Kevin Stitt, appointed Fields to the superintendent post after Walters resigned last month to take a job in the private sector. So how's that for a plot twist? How is that? In other news, because it has been indeed a very busy news day, a lot of people are trying to wonder, like, what's going on with Gen Z? Is Gen Z all right? Is Gen Z all right? Well, Gen Z protesters are actually united by an anime pirate flag and are challenging governments around the world. In fact, the president of Madagascar has been ousted in a military coup after a weeks-long uprising by Gen Z protesters whose outrage is being felt in countries around the world and expressed as a common anime-inspired symbol. The military in the Indian Ocean nation took power Tuesday, right after lawmakers voted to impeach the president, who said Monday night in a speech that he said in a speech from an undisclosed location that he had fled the country in fear for his life after an elite military unit joined the protesters. It is the second, count them, 1, 2, the second government that Gen Z protesters have toppled in just over a month after the prime minister of Nepal resigned last month in the face of protests set off by outrage over a social media ban. Young people angered by economic hardship, official corruption, and perceived injustices have been central players in recent waves of anti-government protests around the world, including in Indonesia, the Philippines, East Timor, Peru, and Morocco. And despite being scattered across oceans and continents, the protests are connected by the frequent appearance of the same emblem. It's a pirate flag from a global popular Japanese anime series. Our thanks to the folks over at NBC News for that story. When we come forward, we're switching gears. Does he or doesn't he want to be the next governor of South Carolina? People want to know. When we come forward, I'll be joined with South Carolina State Representative Dr. Jermaine Johnson to get some answers to that question. In addition, there's a story that's popping off in South Carolina right now, as reported by the Associated Press. The head of South Carolina elections was fired after voting machines contract had an unexplained $4 million overrun. We want to get the representative's reaction to that and more. We'll be listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Preparation, purpose, and passion fuel greatness. Join Brandon Copeland as he shares his journey from a professional football player to real estate investor, professor, and mentor committed in protecting one's wealth on and off the field. See how he turned his experiences and lessons learned into legacy. Discover life-changing plays, moves that build the future, and the importance of financial literacy to protect what matters. Catch the 2-part series at casheslife.com/double impact. Brought to you by Nationwide.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really delighted to welcome to the show for the first time. We got a first timer here with us. Representative Jermaine Johnson. He's a member of the South Carolina House of Representatives. And as rumor has it, he's considering a run for governor of South Carolina. Welcome to the show, Mr. Representative.
Oh, man, appreciate y'all having me on here today, man. Love what you're doing here.
Well, thank you. And we love to celebrate folks who are about that public servant life, in which case you are about it. For folks who are less familiar with your personal story, you actually played ball overseas for some time before coming back to the States and investing in your community in South Carolina, no?
Yeah. So I was actually born in Hollywood, California, and this is before Hollywood was its own city. It was actually Los Angeles, California then. So I was born actually South Central, Kaiser Hospital on Sunset Boulevard. So a lot of my family lived in, we lived in the 60s over there in that neighborhood. I moved around a lot as a young person. My family was riddled with the crack epidemic and, addictions and all those different types of things. My older brother was actually murdered when I was just turning 5 years old from some gang violence type of situations. And I moved around a lot, went to 7 different high schools, ended up with a scholarship at the College of Charleston in South Carolina. Got drafted to go play professional basketball in the NBA D-League, then went overseas for 6 years and came home, got really involved in my community and unseated a 22-year incumbent to become the first Black and the youngest to represent my district.
Wow. And you've been representing the people of the 52nd district in South Carolina. Speaking of the people, there are a number of news stories that are trending, but there are 2 that caught my attention. I want to give you an opportunity to sort of weigh in on them. One very important to the folks of not just South Carolina, but across the country. ABC reporting that over 150 unvaccinated students in South Carolina are quarantining after measles exposure. I think it just ticked up to 153, at least 153 students from 2 schools in South Carolina are under quarantine for 21 days due to measles exposures. That's according to state health officials. The quarantine students were not vaccinated, according to officials, and the schools are both located in Spartanburg County. I think it's the Global Academy for South Carolina and the Fair Forest Elementary. The outbreak has grown to at least 8 measles cases, with a total of 11 cases reported overall in the state this year. Is this an example of what happens when the government plays politics with public health?
Yeah, this is exactly the consequence of who you have in politics, because they're spreading this message and having the general public be distrustful of what science has proven over 100 years at this point. that has shown that these vaccines are safe, that we've got, plenty of evidence and, trials to show that, we are pretty much have eradicated situations like this. But when you have individuals in power who are showing certain biases towards certain things and they want to, push their message or show their rhetoric, these are the type of things that happen. And it's not a coincidence that the area in which this outbreak is happening in, that is probably one of the most reddest parts of this state in South Carolina. So because of that, individuals who are up there, they are taking these individuals who are in the White House, taking their word as, fact and bond. And because they're doing that, they're actually suffering up there right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is wild because we're talking about people's children. I mean, and this is something that's not just disruptive to their lives as kids, but it's disruptive to their whole entire families. What have you heard, from folks in the community about these measles outbreaks? Is there a sort of low level of hysteria that's bubbling up?
Yeah, people across the state are now being concerned. You have some other individuals who are saying like, they're doing the whole "I told you so," like, this is your own fault. But it's not really about the parents who are in the situation. It's about the children. The children are the ones who are going to be suffering in this situation because of the distrust, because of the adults who are supposed to be monitoring these situations. They're just, they're playing politics. They're utilizing this rhetoric and they're going along with whatever the man in the White House is saying. And because of that, the children suffer. And that's the same thing that we know in terms of, in families. When the mother and father fight, it's not them, it's the children that suffer in these situations. And that's exactly what's happening across the state and across this country as a whole.
Well, speaking of what's happening across this country, lots of question marks are popping up around the integrity of our elections. It's no secret that the president picked up the phone and he called Republicans in Texas and said, draw me 5 more Republican seats. And we've seen this trend continue in other Republican-controlled states, so much that the California governor has decided to fight fire with the Proposition 50 campaign. Will be on the November ballot here. But another troubling trend that we're seeing, it seems like the voting machines. There's an interest in purchasing companies that manufacture voting machines. We saw that Dominion, which was the voting machine company that was in question, or that President Trump called into question during the 2020 election, that's been purchased by a GOP former election official. And some more funny businesses afoot in South Carolina. The Associated Press is reporting that the head of the South Carolina elections has been fired after the voting machine contract had unexplained $4 million overrun. The South Carolina Election Commission is trying to figure out how a contract for new machines for voting for $28 million ended up costing the agency $4 million more. What do you know at this hour about this story?
Well, I know there's a lot more that's going to be coming out. So it's under investigation right now. But I know for a fact that, they found some recording devices that were hidden inside the offices. And there's a lot of corruption that's happening right now in the South Carolina government. And you can even add to that with the $1.8 billion debacle that we had here with our treasurer, where, he said we had that there was an unexplained $1.8 billion surplus, that they didn't know where the money came from. And then he came back and said, well, now the 1.8 billion actually didn't exist. And then it came back again and said, well, the 1.8 billion actually was there, but it was always been a part of our budget. It's always been accounted for. And that's what has been the cause of this uprise in South Carolina for this new Doge movement that they're talking about here in South Carolina. Me personally, I'm in the super minority. I'm a Democrat in the super minority. I say bring Doge on, because Doge is going to be calling them to the carpet, talking about what they're doing, because they're the ones who are allocating funds to certain things. They're stealing funds, they're reallocating funds to certain areas. And it's happening all throughout all of our departments across South Carolina. And we're seeing it in our election commissions right now.
Mr. Representative, I've got to ask you, this investigation into buying the 3,200 ballot scanners in 2024, it's obviously led to the firing of the head of the elections agency and the second in command, and it's cost a third staffer their job. Is there any good reason? Is there any good reason why someone would be interested in buying 3,200 ballot scanners? I mean, is this a preview of maybe trying to game out an election, or maybe something even worse?
Well, I would say so, but I hate to be that individual to push, certain conspiracy theories and things like that. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Why would somebody be interested in that many in that type of control that we have going on there? What I do know is in one of our counties, somebody did not play by the rules, so they fired her. They're doing this all across the state here, where they're trying to control our elections. We have passed some restrictive legislation for voting rights here in the recent years, where they're talking about you can't even give water to people standing in lines who are standing out there to vote. So there is a control narrative going on here in South Carolina when it comes to our elections. And this is just one tip of the iceberg that I believe we're going to be uncovering more situations. So we have lots of people who are out here protesting and filing, suits and things like that to get to the bottom of the situation. But when you're in a Republican-controlled, General Assembly, is very little you can do unless you have, change in leadership.
I recently was in conversation on air with Terrence Woodbury. He's a Democratic political pollster.
I know Terrence very well. Yep.
Yeah. See, Terrence knows everybody.
Yeah.
And so, we were having a great conversation this week on air. And one of the things that Terrence said that really has sat with me, and I'm sure many of our leaders, learners, and listeners, he talked about the old world versus the new world. And part of what folks are perhaps starving for are leaders that have a vision for where we go from here. I'm not so sure if things will ever go back to being the way that they were. I don't know if we're ever going to have a U.S. Department of Education like we did before, and so on and so forth. But I think there is a critical mass of folks that are emerging that are open to what the new world may hold, Democrats, Republicans, and even independents. And so, there are lots of folks that are speculating about your political future. And I'm going to leave it to you to address that whatever way you want to. But what I really want to offer you the opportunity to do is to share your vision as a public servant, to share your vision as somebody that has roots that are deep from California to South Carolina, as somebody who made it their business to come back home and invest in community. If you had an opportunity to continue to serve as a public servant, what is your vision? Where do you want to lead the people?
Well, I appreciate this opportunity because, listen, I've been homeless. I've lived in people's, slept in people's couches. When I was at College of Charleston, I was considered a homeless student. So when people were going home for Christmas and Thanksgiving, I was sleeping in the dorm rooms. I was sleeping in the locker rooms sometimes. I've been through all these different types of situations. I've been a survivor of gun violence. I have been in situations where I know how it feels when your bank account gets to a certain amount and you start getting anxiety, you start sweating and wondering where your next meal is going to come from. I have been the least of these. But I've also been an individual who has figured out how to get outside of that and to become Dr. Deacon State Representative Jermaine Johnson in the House of Representatives. I went from homeless to the State House. So I can show individuals that, there are other ways, there are other opportunities to be a successful individual. And my vision for the people is literally just to get to the priorities. See, the problem that we have is we have Republicans and Democrats that are lying to us. They keep saying that the economy is doing good, but yet when you and I go to the store, eggs are still high, groceries are still high, that electric bill keeps going up. You can't pay your mortgage, your insurance continues to rise. All the situations continue to happen, and yet we have people on both sides of the political spectrum that continue to lie to us and tell us we're doing better. And that's the problem. I want to bring transparency. I want to bring truth to the issues, and I actually want to bring the priorities back to the forefront. And the priorities in South Carolina, the number one issue that I continue to hear across this state is roads and mental health. We have over 600 unsolved murders here in South Carolina just since 2020 alone. But yet our current governor felt like he needed to respond to Donald Trump and send 200 of our National Guardsmen to Washington, D.C. to go pick up trash on the side of the road. If they needed some extra work to do, why not help our law enforcement solve those unsolved murders that are here in South Carolina? What about the Charlie Kirk situation? We have legislators here that want to rename roads and things after Charlie Kirk. But what about the young lady that just got shot and killed at South Carolina State University a few weeks ago at homecoming? What about honoring these young people that continue to lose their lives every single day here in this state? Are they not worthy of being honored as well? That is the problem that we continuously have in this state. Our priorities are backwards, and I want to bring the priorities to the forefront.
Well said. I mean, you seem to have a strong grasp of what the streets are talking about across South Carolina, and we are on the edge of our seat to learn where it is that you decide to channel that energy, that passion, that compassion for the people. Our thanks to Representative Jermaine Johnson of South Carolina's 52nd District. Stay tuned for whatever it is that he may decide to do next.
End of this month. Be tuned for the end of this month.
Where can people go quickly? Where can people go to follow you?
Yeah, johnsonforsc.com. And I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Our thanks to Representative Jermaine Johnson. When we come forward, you don't want to miss my conversation with Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter Macy Gray. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Senate has again rejected a Republican bill to end the federal government shutdown for the 9th time.
The motion is not agreed to.
The vote follows President Trump's plan to cut programs favored by Democrats, with details expected Friday. Meanwhile, Democrats are pushing to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies, or Obamacare, as part of their funding priorities. Black New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell must pay over $23,000 in legal fees after a court dismissed her stalking claim against a woman who photographed her with her bodyguard. The court said the claim violated free speech rights. Cantrell and her bodyguard also face 18 federal charges for record tampering and false statements. And Gwen Westbrooks, president of the Macon-Bibb NAACP, has been elected president of the Georgia NAACP. She succeeds Gerald Griggs, who praised her leadership. Westbrooks begins her 2-year term on November 11th. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Westminster, crash on the 22. This is westbound before Valley View. It's the 2 right lanes that are blocked, and they'll be off limits for the next little while. Big delays away from Beach Boulevard. A crash in Commerce on the 5 southbound at the 710. Out of lanes in the center divider. Big delays overall out of Burbank, getting away from Alameda. Calabasas, this crash on the 101 southbound before Parkway Calabasas has been cleared to the shoulder. You're on the brakes away from Las Virgenes.
Travel locals save big at San Bernardino International Airport. Whether it's a stay on the bay or a visit to Utah's peaks, we've got you covered. With $5 a day parking, your next adventure starts here. Plan now at flyspd.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers have put up some impressive numbers during their 7-1 postseason. In the last 3 playoff games, the Dodgers have trailed for just 1 inning. In the 2 games at Milwaukee, the Brewers had only 2 base runners in scoring position. Both of those were in Game 1. Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Blake Snell combined for 16 shutout innings, 17 strikeouts, and 1 walk in the 2 games at Milwaukee. The Brewers have only 4 hits in the 2 games. Can the Dodgers starting pitchers keep this up? We'll find out tomorrow. Tyler Glasnow gets the start for Game 3. First pitch tomorrow at 3 o'clock. LA native Russell Westbrook is returning for his 18th NBA season. Westbrook signed a 1-year deal with the Sacramento Kings for the veteran minimum of $3.6 million. Westbrook will be 37 in November. He holds the NBA record for the most triple plays with 203. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for Black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing, racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and delighted to welcome our next guest, Macy Gray, Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter. My heart be still. She is getting ready to go on tour, her 25th anniversary tour, with tons of East Coast stops. Run, don't walk to get a ticket to this show. We'll talk all about that in a moment, but welcome to the show, Macy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, first things first, the music world is mourning yet another loss, another great loss. Yesterday, it was reported that D'Angelo passed away at the age of 51 after a valiant battle with pancreatic cancer. Talk to us about how you're processing that loss and how you're remembering the life and legacy of D'Angelo today.
Oh, well, so ages ago, they were doing this a record to raise money for hunger in Africa called, oh, here I go, Red Hot. We did Fela Kuti covers, and we did Water, and Questlove called me up and he said, hey, we're down at the studio, come down, be on this record. So I come down, and Nika Costa's there, Common's there, Quest is there, all the Roots were there, and D'Angelo was there, which I wasn't expecting. So that's the first time I met him, and he sang a part, and then he asked me to double him, and I was over the moon. I was like, oh my God, D'Angelo just asked me to double his vocals. And then we talked a few times after that. I never really got to know him because I think he was on tour. I was going on tour, and you kind of lose touch with people. But of course, like everybody else, I was, knew every word of all of his songs. So So yeah, it was a shock. I didn't know he was sick.
Yeah. So many of us didn't know that he was sick, but it's a beautiful thing that we get to continue to hold on to those feelings that he has stirred up in us as a vocalist, as a songwriter. We get to hold on to that through his music. Talk to us about the music, and do you feel immortal in any way through your music?
The songs, the songs last forever, and 20 years from now, I hope people still remember Macy Gray. Absolutely. I definitely, I know that everyone will remember D'Angelo, and but that's the thing, you and I actually had a really long conversation with Prince before he passed away, and he was talking about how he was giving me advice. He had like tons of advice, and he said, just remember, it's not about you. So I thought, what? And but now that I'm older, I understand that he was talking about it's about what you have to give. It's about, like, people make love to your songs, and they come to your shows and they jump up and down and they scream and they know every word to the song. You know what I mean? So, and I think D'Angelo was somebody who understood that. He was never like, I never saw him out like trying to do the rock star thing. It was always about, he kept it about his records, about his albums, about what he had to say, and he only put records out when he wanted to. So I think he was just the ultimate artist, and he will, just because of that, he'll always be remembered, because he'll be connected to the songs that were so precious to all of us.
Well, it takes a very memorable singer-songwriter to recognize another very memorable singer-songwriter. Let's talk about your 25th anniversary tour. Why now? Why did you decide to hit the road after 25 years? Can you believe it's been 25 years since you released your debut album?
Yeah, everybody says that, but my 25 years has felt like 25 years. Like, I know it goes fast, but it's been a minute, and I don't know, 25 is like, this big number in everybody's life. What is it? The silver. If you're married, it's your silver. There's the biggest coin you can have is a quarter. No, they have 50-cent quarters. 50 cent.
That's right.
But nobody, I haven't seen one in
the
a while.
silver dollar. The silver dollar.
The silver dollar is coming, right? So anyway, 25 is a big, it made sense. We were gonna do 20, but I was doing, I don't remember what I was doing. But right, at this time it made sense, and we did it. It's been really good. We went all over Europe. We've done the West Coast, and really great crowds, it's just wild that everybody still remembers those songs. That's what's a trip.
I mean, one of my favorite songs, and I'm sure a lot of our leaders, learners, and listeners' favorite songs, "I Try." Tell us, talk to us about the story behind that song, because it hit, and there's music that you just kind of bop along to, and then there is music that somehow it says the thing that maybe you don't have the courage to say, or it puts into words that feeling that you've had, but you couldn't find quite the right words to say it. Talk to us about the origin story of "I Try."
So this was probably about 3 years before I got signed, and I was at home. I was married. I was with my husband. We had 2 kids already, I think. Did we have 3 kids yet? We might have. No, we had 2. We had 2 at the time, and we were going through it, and I had a guitar. I knew 5 chords on the guitar, D, A, E. So I was sitting in the living room, and I was just strumming those chords, and then the melody just popped in my head, and lyrically, it's about what I was dealing with my husband at the time. But so I wrote it, not all the lyrics, but I had the idea, and I ran upstairs to play it for him, and he's watching the game. It was It was the Knicks were in the championships. That's how long ago it was. And then he was from Queens, so he was like, all that mattered was that game that night. And so I was playing him the song, and he would, yeah, that's cool, that's whatever, So I went through a long time not thinking that song was a big deal. I wasn't even gonna play it for my label when I met with him.
You weren't gonna play "I Try" for your label?
No, because my ex-husband went, yeah, whatever. So I didn't think it was. I thought, well, maybe the song isn't that great,
What? We would have been robbed for life.
Exactly. Listening to him, exactly.
But you did, and sometimes when record executives, when they hear music that is different from what's trending, sometimes they try to make you sound more like what's selling, what's trending at the moment. What was the reaction that you had from record executives when you played it for them for the first time? I Try.
I think back then it was a little different. I think back then it was more focused on finding that artist that would one day be Michael Jackson or Bruce Springsteen. I think back then it was more about longevity. So somebody like me who had this weird voice, and I had an afro, and I dressed, I wore fur and stuff. So I think to them that made sense because it was odd in the right way, and so if I came along today, I think the reaction would be a lot different. Yeah, absolutely.
In what way?
I mean, the goals are different. Like I said, back then it was about, you would sign a deal and they would sign you for 7 albums. So they're kind of curating your career to last for the next 20 years, right? And now most deals are one album, or they might even just sign you for a song, or it's a lot more temporary now, so I don't think, like, if they got it in their heads, then maybe I would need some time, I would need development, or it would take people a minute to digest where I'm coming from in my music. They might have, passed on it because it's a process, and nobody wants to go through the process anymore.
Right, everybody. We live in the instant oatmeal generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm proud to say I make my oatmeal on the stove the old-fashioned way. Just had them this morning. In 1999, Epic Records, they released your debut album on How Life Is, and a lot of folks remember it as this jazzy sort of feel-good album, particularly I Try, as we've been talking about, which earned you a Grammy Award for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about what influenced your sound. For people who are less familiar, we know that you grew up in Canton, Ohio, and that's where you lived before you headed out to LA right after high school. Talk to us about what has influenced that sound, that Macy Gray sound, musically.
Well, I did. I listened. You know what though? I was really lucky when I came up. I was a kid of the 70s, and then so I was in my teens in the 80s. So I got to experience like all that. Those old legends. My mom was a Gladys Knight freak. She loved Gladys Knight, and my dad was all about James Brown. So I know every James Brown song, and then in the 80s, that was everybody. That was Prince, Michael Jackson. I mean, he was there before, but Madonna, and then there was MTV. So in my town, they only played black music after midnight. So if you had a radio, you wanted to hear Gladys Knight or James Brown, you had to tune in after midnight. So my parents, of course, took offense to that. So we never listened to like pop music, you know what I mean? Or and so then MTV came out, and that's all they played, and so I knew all those rock bands, like I knew Metallica songs, and I knew all those bands, I knew all their songs, and so and then reggae was still, I think Bob Marley was still super duper popular. I mean, he's popular now, but he was around. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And reggae was moving, and that's also when hip hop began, the late 70s, but it really blew up in the 80s. And then jazz was popular. You know, Sade was around. Herbie Hancock was huge, and he was doing instrumentals, and he was like one of the number one artists, and Steely Dan and all that. So Kenny G, I don't know if you're old enough for Kenny G.
Of course, don't let the salt and pepper fool you. I know about Kenny G.
I know, I'm just saying, like today, like a horn player, that was like people would be like, "What?" But back then, they were the biggest stars, you know. So, so I think I grew up at the right time because I had a lot of really great influences, and music was a lot bigger. It was a lot more spread out. Latin music was, you know, Ricky Martin burst and onto the scene and around then, and so I think all of us, like, if you're in your like late 30s, 40s, 50s, then you have this really you know, really like great taste in music because you've heard so much of it, you know, and then you can and it has evolved for you. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean as a fan of just about every single artist that you just mentioned. In fact, I remember when Kenny G performed on Arsenio Hall. You remember that?
Yes.
Kenny G on Arsenio Hall. It was a big deal. It was a moment. Let's talk about the path that you've taken, not just as an artist on stage, but also with soundtracks. A lot of people don't know that part of how you've been able to maintain such a steady Eddie career is by contributing to film and television soundtracks and even taking an occasional supporting film role.
Yeah, I've done a few films. I've done a lot of syncs. That's like songs for movies and TV. I've been lucky that way. But yeah, I've done a few films. Most people know me from Training Day or Out Wild or I get more compliments on Spider-Man, I think, than anything. You were that girl from Spider-Man, and I was in there for all of 3 seconds. So
a whole 3.
Yeah, they remember all 3 seconds of my performance. It's pretty awesome.
Wow. Well, I mean, when I think about, you know, singer-songwriters who have really charted successful careers in television soundtracks and film soundtracks, I think of you. Obviously, we think of the great Quincy Jones, but I even think of Alicia Keys has done a lot of work on soundtracks. What's your message to up-and-coming singer-songwriters that might think about their careers too narrowly? We know that the media landscape is shifting in lots of very big ways right now, tectonic shifts in media. What's your message to up-and-coming singer-songwriters that might say, well, you know, maybe I'll save, soundtracks for later in my career, but right now I just want to focus on being on stage?
Well, everybody has their own.
A nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in the National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you working to build a more perfect union.
Path and the way they want to do things. I mean, that's, it's all about just being an individual. I kind of lay back on advice because everybody gets their own way, and I could say, well, first you do this and then you do that and then you do that, but it might not work for it might work for 1 out of 100 people. You know what I mean? And then the person who does the opposite of what I say, they might get there faster than the person I gave advice to. It's all that's why it's so cool to be in art, because you can literally create your path and do the things the way you want to do them, and you can choose how you want to be presented, how you want people to see you. And so, but when I do say have to, I say practice. I say that it's really important to get really good at what you do. All the people that you admire and that you remember 20 years is because they were really excellent at their craft, and people find you when you're good at something. It's like good food. Like you'll find the good restaurant in your neighborhood. Like you won't stop until you find it. You know what I mean? And so I think the same thing goes for music, and the music business is like the world. It changes every day. It's changed drastically since I started. It's a whole other planet, and I think you get to know your planet as well as you can, but it's important to stay genuine. I think that people like music because it's real. It's something that they can call their own. They can sing along to it, they can dance to it, they can hate it, they can turn it off. You know what I mean? And so nothing resonates more than what's real, I think, still. And even though everything's all crazy now, I think people gravitate to what they understand or what they believe. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think if you just are honest with yourself and with your art, then you have a shot.
Mason, you mentioned how crazy things are right now. You are hitting basically the East Coast leg of your tour. Can the audience sort of expect the current times to influence any of your music, influence any part of your show?
Yeah, I'm making a new record, and you go in the studio because you have things you want to talk about, you have a concept. But I think in 2025, in the moment, I think if you are an artist and you're not, you don't have to be blunt about it, but to have some kind of reference to what's going on. I think I think people might almost be insulted by that because you're it's almost like you're not connected. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of artists, we're all told, don't discuss your politics. People don't come to music for politics. But at the same time, you have artists are humans and have an opinion like everybody else. And I think music is your best shot. It's the only thing that really today puts everybody on the same page. You know what I mean? Like everybody watched Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl last year, despite what was going on. You know what I mean? And according to the stream numbers, a whole bunch of us like Bad Bunny. You know what I mean? So, and when you go to a show, you go in because you're ready to party. You don't really stop and think, oh my God, I wonder who he voted for. You know what I mean? You go, and it's a break from all that. So it's tricky to satisfy on both levels, but I don't see how you put out records today and just not have some. It doesn't have to be all deep, like Save the World, like We Are the World, but there has to be something going on in your lyrics.
Our thanks to Macy Gray for joining us here on More Perfect Union. Check out her tour by going to MacyGrayTours.com. That's MacyGrayTours.com. That's all the time we have. My thanks to the entire village helps to produce a More Perfect Union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley. Our sound engineer, Brother Andy. Our show producers, Faraji, Art, and Journey. And, of course, each and every one of you. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Maryland Congressman Kwesi Mfume has introduced a resolution demanding answers on the Trump administration's federal workforce cuts and threats to withhold furloughed workers back